They're ready for us.
What's that?
But I hope they're ready for us.
I've missed you. How have you been?
Pretty good. Yeah.
You had a good trip?
Yeah, for the most part, it was good. Yeah.
Was it hot there in Oklahoma?
A little. It wasn't too uncomfortable, but it was 80s, 90s.
Oof, that sounds it sounds pretty uncomfortable to me. It got up here, it got up into the 80s one day.
Yeah.
But because we're on the lake here, I was over in Logan Square having lunch with some friends. And it was in the 90s there, and I came home and it was like 72 degrees here on the water. So
Did you go in Logan Square?
we went to Chicago Diner.
Oh, okay.
What did you ask me?
Yeah, where you went?
Yeah, Chicago Diner. They um everybody at Chicago Diner wears masks. They don't take cash. You have to pay with credit.
Yeah, they're pretty serious.
Yeah, yeah. I'm I mean, I had a showing yesterday where I've kind of gotten away from wearing a mask because I'll greet people with a mask on, and people are like, well, do you want us to put our masks on? And I'm like, well, no, I just
Yeah.
put it on to. But I've kind of gotten away from meeting people with my mask on. I don't know. It's so weird. Yeah, I had coffee with actually I had coffee with a fella on Friday, and I think he's an estate planning attorney. I've known him for, I don't know, probably 20 years. He was a client and moved to Glenview, and he has his practice in Glenview. But um, he does real estate transactions, and he's expanding his team because he does estate planning. So a lot of times. Anyway, so I think next week we're gonna have him on, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, he'll talk a little bit about what he does, and he has some fun stories about uh people who haven't done appropriate estate planning and the consequences. Anyway, but that's Marty Fogarty. He owns Heartland, the Heartland law firm in Glenview. So, but anyway, the point being is I was
I
having
know him.
what?
Remember, I know him.
You know him?
Yeah, he used to be in our group.
Oh, that's right. Yes, exact. So you've known him for probably 15 years then.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we were talking about our group, and he was talking about maybe we should get the group back together again. I don't know.
Get the band back together.
Get the band back together, but yeah, I don't know. That's too much work. Maybe we could do it by Zoom. I don't know. What?
We have enough meetings these days,
I
right?
know, right? Yeah. I was going to say maybe if we do it by Zoom, but that'd be the last thing I'd want to do, another Zoom meeting. Anyway, but I was telling him, I said, I'm so confused about, do you wear a mask? Do you not wear a mask? I mean, we were at the symphony Friday night, and they're still checking vax cards, and you're required to wear a mask through the whole concert and whatnot. And then, but it's like nobody downtown's wearing masks, right?
Mhm. Except for those
So
events. Yeah, the money thing seems a little crazy because I mean we know now that it's not transferred that way. So
the what thing? Oh, the money, the cat. Right.
yeah, I mean they since the beginning they've been kind of overboard at Chicago Diner, which back then was nice because we still didn't know a lot, but now it's kind of like, okay, we got your point. We know where you stand.
Right.
Yeah, like that.
Well, and as I said to Marty, I'm like, why this whole mask thing became such a political issue is so crazy too. But anyway, whatever.
I don't know if I told you this or not, but a while back, my sister and I were having a discussion about it, and she had done some research on the Spanish flu
Mm,
pandemic back in 1917.
mhm.
And do you know the same thing happened? I'm like almost identical. And I was having this discussion with Jeff, my buddy that's the infectious disease doctor, and he said, yeah, it's true. It was almost identical, the same path that it took,
Mhm.
and how uh, there were mask mandates, and then people at first were all on board, and then there was a pushback, and then people got kind of like tired of the mask, and then there became a big political divide over it. The whole exact thing in 1917.
Huh.
So yeah, it's
Well,
totally.
as my high school history teacher always used to say, history teaches us nothing, right? Which kind of
We think
led
of
me
all
to
of that as being
question
such
like,
a,
well, what?
we think of all that part as being such a situation of the moment, of our current political divide and the situation going on, especially at that time in the country. And yeah, I mean,
What
so
was
100 years
what was
ago,
the political situation at the time?
I
I'm like,
meant I meant at COVID is what I meant. I mean,
but I mean,
I think
I'm
we were
thinking about
assuming that.
World
uh,
War One.
yeah, no, I just mean I think we were all assuming that the COVID divide had so much to do with our current political situation and
Right.
how we were already in such a divide, politically, and that it just played into that. But obviously, 100 years ago, the same thing happened. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. Huh. I'm just thinking about
Well, it
1916,
was World War One,
1917,
so
World War One, and I know that the United States was very isolationist and reluctant to enter the war.
mhm.
And but anyway, whatever. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and
Yeah, I
research.
don't think it was. I don't think it was a similar situation, especially with World War going on. Is when we tend to unite more than anything,
Right.
and when it was the anti-fascism movement and all of that, so when we were pretty united in that. Um, just everything going. I don't know. It just seems weird that you know the exact same thing happened, regarding the pandemic and the dividedness with the pandemic, even though the political situation was obviously not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, a total change of topic. Did you know that there was a lunar eclipse there was a full moon last night and there was a total eclipse of the moon last night?
No, I didn't. I
Yeah.
noticed there was a lot going on last night in downtown and a lot of screaming and holler for a Sunday night. I was like, you would have thought it was Friday night or Saturday night or something. And I was
Huh.
a lot of like girls squealing on the street and like obviously people partying and into the wee hours because I had the sliding door open
Yeah.
downtown and you could hear most of it. And I was like, wow, it's surprising. It sounds like a Saturday night.
Well, we were downtown Friday night at Orchestra Hall, and it was a beautiful night. And we came up Lakeshore Drive, and it was stop and go at 10:30 at night it was like 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. It
Yeah.
was there were so many people out, and so I think the good news is that although I know there was that shooting at Millennium Park on Saturday night, and of course now Lori Lightfoot has put in a curfew. I don't know if you heard about that. I
Mm-mm.
thought there always was minors cannot be in Millennium Park after 6 p.m. unattended. They have to be attended by an adult.
Mm.
But
We were,
there
we were
there was a
driving back into town on Saturday and we were coming, it was about getting close to like rush hour, a Saturday rush hour when we were coming in. And
Mhm.
it took us about 2.5 hours from Joliet to get in.
Wow.
So
Well, 55 is under construction anyway, right?
no, there wasn't any.
I thought 55. Wait, did you come in on 55?
Mhm.
I thought it was under construction. I thought no.
No, there was no construction to speak of on 55. at least from not from Joliet end. But
Hmm.
yeah, it actually it was better once we got almost to downtown. Once we were looping onto the Kennedy, it got a little better. But obviously that's what Stump was saying. We were getting, it's like, well, I guess the city is back.
Well, that's what
Everybody
I
was
was
heading
going to say.
downtown.
I was talking to a client over the weekend, and he's moving here from Omaha. And, I was telling him, I thought because the downtown market has been pretty depressed since COVID and the George Floyd stuff, and a lot of people left the downtown. And I know that there's been a glut of inventory and prices have been depressed. But based on the activity this weekend, it seems like people are deciding that they want to come back to downtown. And I mean, there were so many people out. It was really great to see. Actually, it was
Yeah,
like,
I agree. Even though we were suffering the traffic, there was a part, I think both of us, that were somewhat excited to see that, now that the weather was turning and things, are comparatively better, that it looks like it is heading in that direction. And
yeah. So this fellow that I was talking to over the weekend, I told him I thought it would be a good time to actually get into the downtown market if that was something he wanted to do, because I think when it comes,
I agree with that. I've been
yeah.
staying for a while. It's like everything else went up 20% or more, and downtown is down. I mean, pretty soon, I mean, that, these downtown prices are going to look like a bargain compared to other areas,
Well, I mean, what you don't know is that since you were gone, the week you were gone, there's been a lot of conversation in the Compass community about the market is shifting. I mean, it's still very much a
I've been
sellout.
hearing that for a while, but yeah, again, I think partly too, because we, being in the Midwest and being in Chicago, we've never had the same highs and lows that, a lot of the rest of the country gets, especially the coasts. But because of that, it feels like when the market shifts, it isn't as, we don't feel it as much either,
We don't get the extremes like they do on the coast. But I mean, it's definitely, I mean, and there's still pockets. I think Betsy Phillips, who works the North Shore, I think she's still having issues with, multiple offers and getting her buyers into properties and whatnot. But I saw Susie Cantor over the weekend. I looked at one of her listings. She does a lot in Lincoln Square like I do. And she's, I mean, she's seeing that the market is shifting, that there's not, I don't know. I mean, the thing is that interest rates are around 5.5, which is a huge jump from last year at this time, when they were you could probably get a 30-year fix for right around 3%. But interest rates aren't going to be coming down anytime soon. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
And prices, maybe prices are getting softer, but they're not going to decline because there just isn't enough inventory.
Yeah, I think they're going to stop climbing, but yeah, I doubt there's going to be much.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to continue to maybe climb as rapidly, but they're definitely not. I mean, there's just affordability is still actually very good. Although I think we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago that Chicago is still considered to be a very affordable market. However,
I was with my cousin, who's the realtor in Oklahoma City, and she works mostly Edmond, which is kind of the big north suburb of Oklahoma City. And I mean, she works all over, but that's kind of her bread and butter. And we were talking about where she was telling stories about listings that she had that one of them had just closed that day before. And was talking about, it was a big house. It was like a 6 or 7 bedroom house, and it was pretty big for the area, but it was also very dated and very cheaply done and needed a lot of work. And she was trying to get them to do stuff to it because they're wanting to get top dollar and blah, blah. And they ended up selling it for over list price. And it wasn't until afterwards I was thinking about it. It was like $800,000 for, a bad dated suburban house outside
in Oklahoma City. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, yeah, it's really, and that used to be some of the cheapest real estate in the country, in Oklahoma and Texas. And that's all changed, but it's just interesting you know, how different, that has become. And yeah, I feel like we are so affordable comparatively for,
Mhm.
for being Chicago.
Well, I think we've had this conversation several times about Austin and Nashville, and when we were there for the Compass uh, conferences, and how those prices are above our market anymore.
Way above, yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's more expensive, and it's like, okay, I'm thinking Nashville versus Chicago. To me, there's no competition. But then I love Chicago, so it's like, would I want to live in Nashville or would I want to live in Chicago? I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
but anyway, yeah. So I mean, so all the talk has been while you've been away, and Susie actually just dropped. She took over a listing that was at 1,200,000. So that was why I wanted to go see it, because I've got that listing on Leland for 1,200,000, and she just dropped that this morning. I saw it come across at 1,125,000.
Hmm,
So
pretty big
she,
pop.
yeah, right, yeah. So she's very bearish about the market. But it's a cute house. It's very traditional, whereas Leland is very contemporary. This was her listing on Claremont, but it's the location is, it's right near Wilson and Western. The house backs up to the stores at front on Western,
Hmm.
and it's next to a large apartment building that fronts on Wilson. So you have the back porches of the apartment building actually overlooking your backyard.
Hmm.
So there it has some challenges there location wise, but the house itself is very cute. I mean, very very traditional, with the crown moldings and
Mhm.
whatnot. But anyway, whatever. I'm sure at 1,125,000 she's gonna get it gone now. But um, yeah, there's I think the market is starting to shift. And well, I mean, this is actually, if you think about it, big picture. I mean, we always have a good spring market, and then come Memorial Day, things start slowing down, and it'll pick up again after Labor Day usually.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
traditionally, that's the way it's all, we've always had a seasonal market in Chicago. People get busy with graduations and weddings and summer fun, and, you know, they're not they're not necessarily thinking about buying real estate. So maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. I don't know. It's always hard to know. But when being out on the street, quite often we see the markers before the marker, before the metrics appear on all the marketing reports. So
Yeah. Yeah. But in
uh,
either case, we've seen, you know, 20% or more increase in prices around the state, around the city. But downtown, when at least when I'm on the agent side of compass.com, and I'm in, like River North searches, and looking at listings, and each listing it'll show, it shows the price increase or decrease since it last sold. And
mhm.
in most of those cases where things were sold 2017, 2018, 2019, and it's almost everything is down 10%.
Wow.
So if you're looking at everything else went up 20%, and the downtown condos went down 20% or 10% or
Mhm.
more,
Right.
then yeah, that's where the bargains are. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe with people coming back downtown, and even if it's just as the city's coming back with shopping and entertainment and the weekends, this, I know Stump said that the city, because his company works with the Choose Chicago, the city, for advertising and stuff. And he said the city was doing another big push with the corporations to get them back to the office. So many of them are still not in the office, or like his 3 days a week. And because they're one of the, the companies that works with the city, they've been having them try to lead it, but there's a big push again in this past week or two with companies to get them back to work in the offices. So I think with all of that, maybe people start to realize too that there's some real bargains to be had downtown.
Mhm. Well, I don't know that we're ever actually going to go back to 9 to 5, Monday through Friday necessarily. I think that people have
Well,
learned.
some of them will, a lot won't, and certain people at those companies won't, but the companies themselves,
Mhm.
have not been, had anybody doing that. But now, a lot of them are 3 days a week, but even if not 100% of the workforce goes back to the way it was, just opening their offices 5 days a week, will make a big difference.
Right. Yeah. I mean, being downtown, I mean, see, we were out for dinner Friday night, and you wouldn't know that there was a pandemic, really, So I don't know if it's behind us or not. Like, God willing, I hope it is, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, so all right. So next week I'll talk to Marty. Hopefully, we'll be back on track next week with we'll have Marty Fogarty joining us, and he'll have some interesting tales for us, I'm sure. And hopefully the weather stays. I think it's supposed to stay nice. I don't know.
I think it's supposed to be a little cooler tomorrow, but still like 60 or whatever, not.
Well, that's true. We kind of turned it. I had all the windows and doors, and we get quite a crust breeze through here. And I actually ended up shutting everything off when we went to bed, and I threw a blanket back on the bed. I'd taken it all off, but so it was good sleeping weather last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have seen the darn lunar eclipse if I had only known. But when do I find out about it? The next morning. Like, what good does that do anybody? Although a lunar eclipse will take hours, right? I mean, but I didn't even realize that there was a full moon last night. Was it overcast last night? I don't know.
I think it was, because when I came back down downtown last night, I got back in the city about 8:30 or so, and it had started to rain again. It was sprinkling on and off and started to rain again when I got into the apartment and had the patio door open. It was raining, so it must have been.
So okay, I don't feel so bad now. I wouldn't have seen it.
You wouldn't have seen it anyway.
Yeah, that's what usually happens, right? So you were at the gardening store today. You got your flowers for your terrace all.
Yeah, and that's why I looked up what the weather was going to be tomorrow, because it's pretty hot out there right now. If it's 80 or 85 degrees out, or even 75, it's like 15 degrees warmer on the terrace.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at my thermometer because I'm right here on the lake, but it says about 72 right now.
When I came back, it was 82, but yeah, it would easily be 90 or above on the terrace. On our south facing terrace, it bakes in the sun. So, but that's why I looked up. Tomorrow's going to be high of 60, so that'll be a better planting day.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds like you better get some cactuses out there.
Oh, yeah. We actually had some today.
Cactuses?
Yeah.
I had cactuses out. I had a whole cactus collection, and I had them out on my balcony when we lived in Mayfair, and there was a hurricane that had come up from New Orleans, and this was maybe in 2008. I'm thinking, I can't remember the name of the hurricane, but you might remember that Mayfair got completely flooded, and remember all those bungalows along the river there east of Pulaski, south of Foster. They all got flooded, and it was that storm. Anyway, I had these cactuses out on my balcony, and we had some crazy amount of rain, like in a 2-hour time frame. I was out showing property, and Foster Avenue flooded, and you had to have a canoe to get down Foster Avenue. That's how bad it was. I am not exaggerating it, literally.
Cacti floated away.
Well, the cactuses were on my balcony. I mean, we were fine. The cactuses were but I got back from my appointments. I was able to get home, and they were completely drowned from that 2 hours in the rain. Completely saturated, drowned, killed my cactuses. So I learned after that, don't keep your cactuses because you just never know in Chicago. If you get 24 inches of rain in a 2 hour, you could lose your cactus collection. So.
Good to know. Everybody take note.
Well, have a good week, everybody, and we'll be back next week, hopefully at our usual time, and or maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out, but have a good week.
All right, bye.